It is Organ Donor Month, and there are concerns over a decline in donations in South Africa. The COVID-19 pandemic played a major contributing factor to this shortage, but other challenges, including cultural and religious beliefs, have also often been a stumbling block. Now, the Organ Donor Foundation is on an awareness campaign to educate the public about donating organs. In fact, their sort of tagline for this 2022 campaign is "A life after mine." Let's bring in the foundation's Meena Singh, who joins us via our video link in Johannesburg, and the Eastern Cape's Contralesa, Mwelo Nonkonyana, who joins us as well live in Bisho there. To both of our guests, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Meena, I want to begin with you from the Organ Donor Foundation to talk to us more about the current shortage that we are experiencing. I understand 2,700 South Africans are currently on a waiting list for organ donation and transplantation.
Yes, that's very true. The shortage of organs and tissue has been a long-standing issue, and it definitely has deteriorated during the COVID pandemic, in that we couldn't get to people that could have donated organs because, the policy of not allowing visitors in hospital. So also we had an issue where the ICU units were all completely full of COVID patients. So people that were seriously ill that could have become donors did not have access to ICU. If they did, they did not have their family members by to sign consent for them to become organ donors.
Sure.
So yes, the pandemic has definitely contributed to that. But it's not the only factor, and I'm sure we're going to go into that more later on.
Yeah,
so
in fact, Meena, thanks for that. Sorry for interrupting you there. Let's bring in Mwelo from Contralesa as we talk about the various factors insofar as organ donation is concerned. Mwelo, this is a broad question, I suppose, because it applies to more than one cultural belief system, more than one possibly religious system as well. But what are the views of Contralesa insofar as organ donation is concerned?
Good morning to you, madam. Good morning also to the lady. It's a pleasure talking to both of you during this your month. Indeed, good morning to all your listeners and viewers. Contralesa believes that indeed we need to support this initiative. Mm-hmm. Really, we could save lives by donating, but there is no doubt reluctance on the part of our traditional communities for the reasons that we will be able to articulate as we go on in this show.
Well, let's talk about some of the reservations that some communities do have, Mwelo. The issue of being laid to rest with some of your body parts missing. Where do we place that issue insofar as organ donation is concerned?
Indeed. That is the real issue.
Yeah.
Hence, we were of the view, in fact, in our communities, they believe that you must have everything of yours. If you take away anything from me, then it's either for witchcraft or whatever. That is the belief that our communities have. Hence, would love, therefore, that somebody must have everything of his or hers when we lay that person to rest. But due to education, because it was a taboo earlier on, but due to education, there's been some shift. And the shift is, I can only donate to my sibling, to my uncle and everything within the community as the direct result of education. Hence, it is critical that this campaign to educate our people is there. Again, we also know that due to medical science, Some people, they can donate a body, whole body, to Faculty of Science, for instance, for postmortem and everything else. And it is done, but due to education. But that one is really problematic in our communities, because it means, therefore, I don't have the grave of that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And therefore, that body is somewhere else, and on a daily basis is being tampered with. These are the things that are really inhibiting this initiative.
So as you say, Mwelo, there have been shifts in some belief systems, to the point of, if I've come from a space where I don't believe in organ donation at all, to now bringing me to a space with the help of education around issues related to organ donation, where I'm actually donating to family members. Meena, what are some of the stumbling blocks that you are also finding as the Organ Donor Foundation when you're trying to embark on these drives, like the one you're embarking on now, and trying to educate individuals and communities?
I think one of the major stumbling blocks we have is a lack of awareness, first of all, and a lack of education. So when you speak to people about organ donation, some people have no idea that you can donate organs and even tissue. There is a sort of a perception about organs, but tissue is something that most people are not aware of. So when you say to people you can donate your skin, your bones, your eye, your corneas, even your heart valves and your tendons, there's quite a bit of surprise.
Yeah.
So I think that is where the work that we do becomes so valuable. And then on the other hand, you get a lack of education. And I mean, as Inkosi touched on it, the Organ Donor Foundation is always on a mission to educate not just the communities, but to also educate healthcare professionals. Yeah. Because if you go into a hospital and you speak to nurses that work in ICU, and you convince them of the need to refer patients for organ donation, that's a huge step forward, and that is part of what we do. But we also have a lot of myths and misconceptions around organ donation, organ and tissue donation. And often people say to me, well, if I'm an organ and tissue donor and I'm in hospital, they won't work hard to save my life. And that's definitely not true. First of all, the hospital staff have no idea that you're an organ and tissue donor. If you're in hospital and you're seriously ill, their only motive and their only concern is to save your life. And they will do everything that they can to do that. Failing that, I mean, then you obviously become, if you're brain dead, you are a potential candidate for organ donation. The other fear that people have is that, well, if I donate organs and tissue, my body is going to be mutilated. It's not going to be suitable for viewing. It's going to be traumatic for my family. And, I mean, things like that. And that's definitely not the case. I'd like to reassure people that organ and tissue donation is done in a very, very aesthetic manner, where when the body is returned to the family, it's possible to have an open casket funeral. It's possible to have viewing. So, yeah, that's another common fear that we have amongst the community regarding donation.
I think those are such important points of clarity there, Meena. The issue of, doctors won't work as hard to save my life. The issue that you've raised around it being traumatic for the family, that I'll have to have a closed casket when I'm being buried. I mean, Inkosi, are these the kinds of issues that the community might raise as well when you talk to them about organ donation?
Oh, indeed, certainly. And the education is very, very key, because cultural practice, as I say, as I speak to you now, to donate to somebody else, not within the family and things like that, without Tara, even there within the family, you must take time to convince these people. But to just leave your one, even related or no, it is problematic. But I understand because we, the African people, we have got that thing like Ubuntu. And if you want to really help the person in need, who is a human being, we could do that. But it must go with, as the lady correctly pointed out, with education. And also make the people understand upfront. Because if, for instance, I'm still in hospital and we're talking about me donating some part of my body even before dying, and you are conveying something else to us that no, in fact, you don't intend to cure me, you want me to pass on. And these are the things that really need to educate people thoroughly. And I think with the ladies like the expert in this show, they could be helpful in our authorities, which means therefore we must call community meetings and have the staff who are trained, who really understand this thing, to educate. It will take us somewhere. Because,
Mwelo, I mean, it's an issue that may well save your own life at some point. Hopefully not, but it may well lead to you receiving a life-saving organ, Meena.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Sorry, Inkosi. Let me say at the upfront that I would not be sitting here were it not for somebody that had decided to donate their organs. I'm a liver transplant recipient of over 16 years and living proof that organ donation does work. Also, I mean, in speaking to that, I'd like to just reassure Inkosi that when it comes to donating organs in hospital after brain death, or even while you're in hospital, that conversation does not occur while the person is still alive. Definitely not. Also, when that conversation does occur after brain death, the hospital staff will not approach the family. They will call in transplant coordinators who are trained to do this in the most, the least traumatic way possible. So that's the way we do it. I mean, a further sort of consolation is that doctors can't just remove organs in South Africa, whether or not you decide to be an organ and tissue donor. They need consent from the family. So that's like a further initiative that will be put in place, that where organs cannot just be removed willy-nilly without consent from the family.
Mwelo, did you want to say something as well?
Hello?
Mwelo, are you still there? You wanted to say something as well when you and Meena happened to be chatting over each other. Was there a final thought that you had to add?
Yes. No. I'm really very impressed about what he says. That is not going to be said to that patient before he or she die. And but again, after that, there will be thorough consultation and understanding with the family. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a final parting shot, Meena, as we wrap up our conversation. I'm on the site now for the Organ Donor Foundation. It says it takes a minute to register. Is that how, if I'm listening to this conversation this morning and I'd like to become an organ donor, I go on to odf.org.za?
Yes, very, very simple. I mean, literally takes a minute or two. You can either do it online, so you go to www.odf.org.za, or you can call the ODF toll-free line. That's 0800 2266 11, and the process takes a few minutes. So, I mean, my parting shot would be a quote that I often use from the United Network for Organ Sharing. That's an American initiative. And it says, without the organ donor, there is no hope, no story, no transplant. But when there is an organ donor, life springs from death. Sorrow becomes hope, and a terrible loss becomes a gift. So in parting, that is my message to people. You have the opportunity to make a difference even when you are no longer here. You have the opportunity to bestow the ultimate gift, the gift of life. So please, I urge you, register, register, register.
Wonderful way of ending that discussion. Meena Singh, let me thank you for your time this morning from the Organ Donor Foundation, and Inkosi Mwelo Nonkonyana from Contralesa in the Eastern Cape. Thanks very much to both of our guests for joining this discussion. It is Organ Donor Month, and there has been a decline in South Africa because of a whole range of reasons. But if you are listening to this conversation and you'd like to become an organ donor yourself, the details there for the website is ODF, so it's organdonorfoundation.org.za. There's also a number you can call, which is 0800 226611, and I'll tweet those details as well.